Welcome to another edition of the Bobcast. We're in week 7 of the 2019-2020 athletic calendar, and we're starting things off with the football team, head coach Delane Fitzgerald, 35-13 win over West Virginia Wesleyan. But what were some of your takeaways from the victory?
Buchanan, West Virginia is a hard place to play a football game. That's one of my takeaways. It was pouring down raining when we got there, and as gray and as cloudy as I've ever been a part of. And anyway, hard place to get going. I think Tony Testa and his coaching staff, and I'm leaving some guys out, but Dwayne, the DB's coach, and Logan Williams, the defensive coordinator, I think they're doing a great job there. They gave us a fit for the first quarter, gave us problems in the first quarter as much as anybody's given us here in years. And I take my hat off to their coaching staff for doing the best possible job they can do to get ready to play.
And last week on the Bobcast, you mentioned that this game could be a trap game. And how did you think that your guys responded to that?
I don't think we responded to it very well early, and we played better in the second half. But in the first, they fumbled the ball 4 times in the first quarter. We went seasons here and not fumbled the ball 4 times, but it didn't play very well. Didn't play very focused. We were flat as a pancake, flat as we could possibly be at the beginning of the football game. Lucky to be ahead at the end of the first quarter. Lucky to be ahead at halftime. Now we handled our business a lot better in the second half. Assistant coaches did a nice job of making halftime adjustments and us adjusting to what they were doing that was giving us problems. We came out and played better in the second half.
With that said, what did you tell your team at the halftime break in order to play more consistently in the second half?
My speech to them was pretty simple, that if we didn't get it going, if we didn't get ourselves in gear and get excited to play football, that we were going to be unsuccessful that day and we were going to be in a battle. When you're 4-1 and the team you're playing is 1-4, the worst thing you can do is let them hang around. And we let them hang around for a quarter and then let them hang around for 2 quarters. And with that gets you in a situation of is you're going to have to play extremely hard in the second half because they see light at the end of the tunnel and they see a chance.
And looking at the positives now, the pass defense created all sorts of havoc. I believe it was 9 sacks in the game against Wesleyan. How did that help set the tone, especially in the second half?
Yeah, there were guys on our defensive front and linebackers for that matter that played pretty well on Saturday. Some of those guys were ready to play. Now, that being said, their offensive line's not the greatest I've ever seen. Their pass protection scheme is not the greatest I've ever seen. The young man that I was impressed with the most for them is that quarterback, number 11, that they had, because if nothing else, he's tough as nails now. He's tougher than a pine knot. We sacked him 9 times and probably hit him another 10 times, and he just kept getting up and kept playing, and he kept making plays. He actually played pretty well throughout the game, so good for him. I think he's a Maryland kid, so we know Maryland's got good football players, and good for him. Good for them that they've got him playing quarterback for them. On our defensive line, and Carl had 3 sacks, and Trevor Booker had 3 sacks, and we had a couple other guys that had 1 sack, to go along with their 3 sacks apiece. But there wasn't a ton of resistance on Saturday.
Igwe and Booker both with those 3 sacks. It's the first time that a player individually has had 3 sacks in a game since 2017. Now, what was clicking with those 2 individually?
Brandon, you say 2017 like it was a long time ago. when you get my age, I think 1995 was just yesterday. I don't know who had the 3 sacks in 2017. That'd be a good one to. There's a trivia question. Was it Zach? Was it Zach Strand had it in 2017? That would make sense because everybody we were playing was double and triple teaming Niles Scott and Jordan Proctor, so it left Zach 1-on-1 in all those games. And now they're double and triple teaming Zach Strand, which leaves Carl and Trevor Booker open in 1-on-1 situations. What was your question now?
What was clicking for those 2 individually?
They were getting off of the football and they were playing against inferior competition. It's pretty simple.
And do you think also that you mentioned with Strand getting double and triple team, do you think that had a factor with it too?
Yeah, it has a factor every week. When we have games where Carl has less than 6 tackles and he doesn't have 3 tackles for loss and a sack or 2, we're pretty disappointed because everything that the attention goes to number 9, and it allows Carl and them to play in 1-on-1 matchups.
offensively now, one name that stood out was Isaac Smith. He had a huge day. What played into him getting more involved with the offense?
We've got injuries to a couple wide receivers, and a couple guys are banged up because they play really really hard. And Devon Holton didn't play on Saturday, so Isaac got to do some things. I'm not interested in talking about Isaac yet because if he plays 20 plays, he probably has as many mistakes as he has good plays. And I'd rather talk about the guys that play really well, play after play after play, which is Terrell Brown and Lincoln Akubu and Will Brunson, our quarterback. Those guys are playing pretty well right now.
And you're going to need a lot of that going into this Charleston game, especially on the defensive side. The Charleston offense has put up video game numbers on a weekly basis. Without giving too much away, what's the key to success defensively to slow down that Golden Eagle offense?
Yeah, I don't mind giving it all away. Best pass game in the conference. Fifth-year quarterback that hadn't played a lot for them his first 4 years on campus, and he's playing well as a redshirt senior, and he's a graduate student, so you know he's a rather smart young man. But he's playing well at the quarterback position. They got 3 wide receivers that are dudes now, and I was born and raised not far from Lynchburg, Virginia, and the best wide receiver in the conference is number 1, and he's out of Liberty Christian Academy in Lynchburg, Virginia, so good for him. Hometown, local guy for me anyway. But he's the best wide receiver in this conference, and they like to throw it to him a bunch during the game. And then he's complemented by number 11 and number 22 are good football players, and they'd be the number 1 receiver at a lot of schools in this conference, but just happens they have them all on the team. Pat Kirkland and his staff have done a great job of recruiting players and redshirting players and playing with older players year after year after year, and this is no different. Now, the scary thing for this conference is those 3 guys are all underclassmen. All those wide receivers are going to be back next year. Maybe I can get Pat to let me play quarterback for him next year. My numbers look pretty good, too.
But defensively, in order to slow that down, who are you looking for to have a big game?
Yeah, we have to be better in pass defense than we've been all this year. Our DBs have to step up in coverage. Our linebackers have to step up and rerouting guys and the underneath coverage and dropping into their zones and stuff. And we're going to have to be good there. And all that being said, our pass rush has got to be good. And it's good most weeks. Our pass rush needs to be really, really good this week. This is a defensive game. We're not going to be able to win the football game 10-7, and we're not going to win the game 7-3, which is some things that we try to do from time to time. We're going to have to line up offensively and outscore them. So our offense has got to be on point, and we're going to have to play fast and play well on offense. We've got to turn around on defense, and for us to be successful this Thursday night, our defense will have to give the best effort that they've given this year.
And Thursday night, with the game being on national television, it's the talk of the school. What does this mean to the program and to the community, knowing that this game is going to be on national television, available for 10 million homes?
Yeah, you and I can waste 5 minutes of our life talking about it being on national TV this week, but there's 2 things here. This is the first of many. Okay, the ratings are going to be great for Masson and then for AT&Tsports.net. The ratings are going to be great because it's being played Thursday night on both channels. This won't be the last time we play on TV here. It's coming where this conference is going to end up being the new Maction and the new Fun Belt, and we're going to play games on Tuesday on TV, and we're going to play games on Thursday on TV, and we're going to play games on Saturday on TV. That's going to happen. From a coaching perspective and a football perspective, you've got to throw all that out the window. You've got to put it out of your mind and focus on the task at hand. And the task at hand is that we play extremely hard on Thursday night. We execute, and we are successful at the end of the night Thursday night. That's all that matters. The TV stuff, coaches and players don't care much.
Anything else you want to add, Coach?
Yeah, Fielder Dennis is standing here watching us. He didn't do the interview today, but I noticed walking in here, Fielder needs a trip to the barbershop now. We've got the sandy blonde, reddish beard coming out with the red hair, and the hair starting to come down over the ears here. Yeah, we're going to get Fielder to trim it up between now and Thursday night just in case somebody catches him on camera.
For sure. All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Go Bobcats.
Back on the Bobcast, episode 7 of the 2019-2020 season. We're sitting down with men's soccer coach Keith Burns. A 1-0 loss to West Virginia Wesleyan, however, a 2-1 victory over Salem on Saturday. The team snapped the 4-game losing streak, and the second half of the Salem game seemed to be the best play the team has had in quite some time. What was clicking in the last 45 minutes against Salem?
I think we were, I mean, I don't know how it ends up happening, but we were just a little bit more efficient in front of the goal. I mean, both goals were kind of scored off of missed kicks to a certain degree. I mean, one guy had a first chance at scoring and kind of didn't do it, and the second guy was there to finish it. Almost identical goals. So just being in the right place at the right time, and sometimes you catch a break. All the other games were the one goal losses and two free kick losses in a row. We didn't catch the breaks, and it's soccer sometimes, and sometimes you're on the right end of it.
And in the Salem game, it was Yunus Ben Muna who scored twice. The lone 2 goals, had another, but that was taken off later in the second half. But he seemed to have that breakout game that perhaps people were looking for. Talk about his performance.
Yeah, I mean it's well deserved. I mean the kid's always working his butt off. I mean he's just always putting immense pressure on the defense and trying to do everything he can to get us goals. And things haven't gone his way this season as much as he would have liked. And like I said, he was, both of them I think were one-touch finishes. So just being in the right place, working hard to get there. So he can learn that, he doesn't have to do everything by himself, just make the right runs, be in the right spots, and people can find him, and he's got the ability to finish, so we want him, as close to and around the goal as possible.
How do you think that he can build off of this performance going into the second half of Mountain East Conference play?
Hopefully just confidence, and again, learning, how he scored. He didn't score by taking on 5 guys or holding onto the ball too long. He just made the right run, and, his teammates found him. And, that's how we want to score goals, is just drawing in defenders, slipping the through ball, and, getting tap-ins. We're not looking for upper 90 from outside the 18. I mean, that's kind of rare. So just good, smart soccer gets you the best, easiest goals.
Now, every game, the team has gotten lots of contributions off the bench. We talked about this in recent weeks, and you've mentioned that your goal is to go 2 deep in every position. With that said, how do you think the team has responded now compared to the last time we talked about it, given that now they have more of a defined role, whether it be starting in the field or coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that are getting playing time, I think, are switched on, and I think they kind of understand their role. And sometimes maybe somebody gets minutes in the first half, and then a different reserve player will get minutes in the second half, just based on how we feel the game's flowing. And sometimes we're looking for just the guys are going to be high energy guys. Sometimes we're looking for the ball winners. Sometimes we're looking for the technical guys. So it just depends a lot on matchups. And again, luckily we do have the depth that we have options to pull from, and it helps keep them on their toes, and it keeps practices pretty lively and guys still competing for playing time. And we're still rotating basically the front 6, one of the outside backs. So it's really just the 2 center backs and our left back that we don't kind of rotate as much as we honestly would like, but maybe the depth is just there all the time, and partly due to injuries. But hopefully getting into the home stretch of the season here, everyone will be back and healthy.
Now, going into that home stretch you just mentioned, we're officially in the second half of Mountain East Conference play. We've now seen action from every team in the MEC. What assessments have you made about the competition in the Mountain East and how your team has responded to it?
Well, it's pretty much what we thought it was. I mean, it's good soccer, and we thought we'd be competitive. Unfortunately, we do think we dropped some points in some games that we shouldn't have. But that's kind of the learning curve, finding ways to win games maybe that you don't deserve to win, or you're just having a bad day, and we haven't been able to do that as much as we would have liked. And the last 2 games prior to Salem, we found ways to lose, and those were just free kicks on top of the box, and that's just poor defending, and then not being able to score on the other end. But we're in all these games, but that doesn't mean anything if we're not getting in the win column against them, and just being competitive isn't our goal. So the confidence is there to play with everybody. Now we've actually just we got to finish it off on the field.
And the team, we talked about this briefly before we went on the air. The team has I don't want to say struggled, but they've had trouble with putting together a full 90 minutes of soccer. Even such as the Salem game, the first half didn't go so well, trailing 1-0 at the half. The second half, Yunus Ben Muna came up and basically won the game for Frostburg. How do you relate to the team saying, hey, we have to play these full 90 minutes and not come out with one half that's pretty good and another half not so much?
Well, I think every coach would like the answer to that question because we've been talking about this most of the season. It's just hard sometimes to be switched on for 90 minutes, and you warn them, you tell them, you got the proof of the games previous where you played well for a half and poorly for a half, and you tell them that you can't do it again, and it still continues to happen sometimes. And sometimes it's different. It's not always you just didn't play well. Sometimes you played well, but maybe the work ethic was a little off, or sometimes you thought you worked really hard, but your touches were off and the play wasn't as good. And that's what I kind of thought against West Virginia Wesleyan. I thought the effort was great, but we were just sloppy with the ball, and that caused us not to really do enough to win the game, and then giving up a free kick and losing the game. So it's a little bit different from game to game, but it's something they know. I mean, we don't have to really harp on it too much more. We've talked to their ears off with it. But it's yeah, you just got to find a way to be better mentally. I don't know if that's just a little bit more leadership on the field. Some guys raising the level and putting out that energy burst that's going to keep everybody engaged from the start, and then maintaining it. Yeah, but if I had the answer, then we wouldn't be having these problems, I guess.
For sure. And the next three games in MEC play against the bottom three teams in the Mountain East. Concord on Thursday, whom you guys tied with last month. What have you seen from them, and what's kind of the goal in order to improve from the scoreless tie last time out?
I think again, just finishing. I mean, we missed some opportunities against them. Because I mean they're a solid team. I mean they're a couple points behind us or whatever, but clearly they were capable of getting a tie against us, and they're dangerous enough that if you make a mistake, they can score and win a game, and they've done that a little bit. So we just need to be better finishing our opportunities and creating opportunities, and we got to worry about ourselves more than other teams as we get these last couple of games. I mean, luckily, two of those three are home. But going on the road to somebody you had a close game with is always tough to win that second time around. So, but we definitely need to maintain the points in the win column to keep it close enough for the playoff push towards the end when we play some of the other teams that are ahead of us.
Anything else you want to add, Coach?
No, I mean I think the guys are, the confidence is still there. They're disappointed that they dropped a couple of games, but they see that they're capable, and I think we will make a pretty good push here and at least put up a fight to see if we can get into the playoffs. So we're looking forward to that.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Bobcast, Week 7 of the 2019-2020 Bobcast calendar. We're sitting down with women's soccer head coach Brian Parker. A 4-0 loss to West Virginia Wesleyan and a bounce-back win over Glenville State 5-0 on Sunday. Coach, it's two drastically different performances against two drastically different teams. What were your takeaways from the week?
That's a pretty good description. Well, it's been a crazy up and down season for us. I mean, it's kind of the numbers don't lie, I suppose. We're a little disappointed about the performance Wednesday, not so much in that the score is a reflection of the result or anything, but the performance of the team. But we got to halftime. We allowed kind of a freak goal in the first half, kind of against the run of play. We had a great start, which has been an issue for us. So we were very excited about the start and about how competitive we were going to be. And then second half, I don't know, it was like credit to West Virginia Wesleyan. They found another gear in their game that they didn't show in the first half, and we did not. We did not respond well. And momentum is a massive thing in soccer. We got down on ourselves a bit and didn't really bounce back from that second goal very well, and that leads sometimes to a third and fourth. And I was a little disappointed in some of the responses of the players, and obviously we took a long, hard look at that game and watched the video very carefully. And I think we learned a bit from it. Glenville, obviously, different challenge altogether. We knew that they were going to probably lay off us a little bit and play a little bit of a lower block, you might say, or they were going to defend a lot more in their half and give us a bit of possession. So that means the performance pressure is on us. I mean, sometimes when you just go toe to toe with a good team, it's kind of easy because it's just scrappy and physical, and the kids usually are going to just be competitors and respond. Against Glenville, you got to really knock it around. You got to be smart. You got to be efficient with the ball, and you've got to finish chances when you get them. And we didn't have the best start in the world, but we were. I think what I was happy about the Glenville game was that we showed the kind of patience and just sort of confidence in our own game plan and ability to just spread them out. That was I was happy about that.
And two of those players that you mentioned that didn't perform to expectations in the Wesleyan game are two of the better players that you have, Audra Curtin and Brooke Shahady. Against Glenville, they came off the bench. What was the message to those two?
Well, you know what we told the team after the Wesleyan game is we just decided, and I think sometimes coaches do this in different ways, and that is to just have a reset. You call it a midseason break or a chapter or whatever you want to call it. We said, look, we're going to play the best 11 players, that perform for us over the next 3 days. Like, we're really going to just reset our evaluation of the players and see who responds in the next 3 days. And so, of course, Audra and Brooke did fine this week, and they are good players, and we know that. But we had a chance to start a senior, and another girl, Marley, a freshman who has just been working her butt off and has just been really coachable and responsive. So it was more or less a combination message that kind of no one is exempt from, the high expectations that we set, but also that when we see players really kind of taking it to it and really putting their head down and working hard and being responsive, we want to reward them. So it was definitely a combination of rewarding some players with an opportunity. I asked Erica Allen at the start of the game, have you ever started a college game before? She never had. She's a senior here. She kind of walked on and she just kind of appeared here. She never started a college game in her life. It probably made her day, maybe made her career or her year that she got a chance to start at home in a big college game. And so there was a lot more positive about that decision than that we were trying to send messages. But it was a little bit of both.
And Allen also got her first career points as well with that assist late in the game against Glenville.
Yeah.
But with Brooke Shahady, she scored 2 goals, had an assist. Audra Curtin also chipped in on some scoring too. So it seemed as if those two responded well. What was your takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody is in some way or another, trying to get these kids to make sacrifices of themselves to put the team first. It's a very common thing you hear from coaches, and if you're not one of the 11 playing, you need to be one of the 12 or 15 on the bench who are helping those 11, and staying focused and staying in the game. And so, I told them straight up, you're not going to go first today, but how you respond to the teammates, performance and being positive and showing good body language and being useful as a teammate on the bench. That's all very important to us, and it needs to be there. And they did exactly that. They were great. And so when they got on, what I was hoping, of course, as a coach, is that they would be really hungry and really responsive, and I think they were, and they both performed pretty well.
And switching to the defensive side, Emily Faust finally is healthy. She got her first start in 2 years, and with Taylor Longworth still recuperating, how does Faust's play add to the defense, especially in net when you have Faust and Vajezi, two more than capable goalies?
Well, I think we may have addressed this once before. They're just very different kinds of players, and so some of it is a little bit of game planning and what do we need out of our goalkeeper out of the position of goalkeeper in that particular game. And so obviously getting Emily sort of back on the bike, and get her playing and getting her minutes and feeling that the sort of adrenaline of the pregame and all that was, I think this was a great opportunity for us to do that. So I think mission accomplished in terms of that and sort of getting her groove back, so to speak. But Steph does good things too, and is obviously calmer and composed, and probably not as athletic a shot stopper as Faust, but does a lot of things really well. So it's nice that we're able to get both of them minutes and that we have 2 good keepers. We'll have 3 when Taylor comes back, and so another very different kind of athlete as well. So I think it only makes us better when we have depth at that position.
Offensively, in home games, you guys have been clicking on all cylinders, especially in conference play. 3 of the last 4 home games have led to 5 or more goals. What's been the difference between playing at home compared to on the road?
Well, a lot of it has to do with just the setup of the schedule. When we go to Wheeling and Urbana, those first two games we won by a bit. They're not going to be easy. They know what we can do and they know what to expect. Everybody kind of screams out right when we start the game how we handle our kickoffs and whether someone's left-footed or right-footed is kind of funny almost. But those teams will be much more stubborn. It's kind of interesting, the whole home field thing. I like to not really overstate it too much. I mean, you want to use it to motivate your kids, protect the house and all those cliches. Like someone's coming to take something from us, and you kind of get them fired up about that. And you're sleeping in your own bed and eating your own food, and so it should be a little more comforting to you. But you should kind of have the same approach, whether you're home or away, and you really should be able to travel and play. I mean, you don't want to be a goal worse in every half your schedule, right? So, we're trying to not emphasize that as much because the travel is different and unique, and some of it's difficult because of frankly, some of the roads we've been on in this conference are a bit of a challenge. So, I'd like to see the performances equalize over time, and obviously the schedule balance will take care of some of that as well.
Now officially in the second half of MEC play, you've seen every conference team at least once to this point. What assessments have you made about the competition that your girls have faced and how they've responded?
So as far as our placement in the MEC, I'll be honest with you, the level of play is higher than we expected. I'll be frank about that, and so that's good because we're obviously being pulled and stretched and challenged in ways maybe we didn't expect right away, and so I'm actually happy about the fact that we've got to really raise our game to get points in this schedule. The other thing that's interesting is it's all over the place. The disparity, I hope every sport is not like this because, Urbana we put 6 on Urbana at home, I think, and then they've gone and won 4 or 5 games, I think, are right now in first place. They beat West Liberty twice, which is shocking to me because West Liberty just outplayed us at their place. So, Notre Dame beat West Virginia Wesleyan. We beat Notre Dame, West Virginia Wesleyan beat us. There's these triangular results that are hard to explain all over the conference. And so, I think, again, just trying to deliver a consistent performance and a consistent energy and really not taking anyone for granted now is the challenge because, again, we're going to repeat some games now with some teams that we did well against, and we got to make sure that the complacency is not there in any way.
And up next, you guys play Concord as well as Wheeling, two teams have already played. Wheeling at home, Concord. You guys played them as well. What's kind of your expectations going into those games, if you have any?
So Concord, we haven't been down there. That was the men's team who went down to Concord. So Concord is in the north-south setup. We haven't played yet. So they're the best team in the south so far for sure. And they just beat Fairmont, who I think was the best team we've seen so far. So Concord makes me very nervous. Grass field, it's a quirky baseball outfield. It's not like what everyone else is playing on. So there's some things about the travel and the surface that are concerning. But again, we know that we'll see that. We've seen the video, we've seen the field. We've talked to people who've played there. It's the same field they're playing on. So it's kind of funny to kind of complain about that. But we have a grass field we can prepare on anytime we want to. And so the challenge is, how good are we? That's a good measuring stick. I think Concord is the team that's getting ranked and has had the great season so far. Like I said, they did just beat Fairmont, so they're kind of riding the wave in the southern half of the conference. That'll be a great test for us. And again, with Wheeling on Sunday, don't want to think too far ahead, but just making sure that we really bring our A game in terms of energy and quality in a return game that we did well in the first time. That's not always the advantage you think it is. So we're going to make sure that we're ready to grind out a result at Wheeling and not take them for granted at all.
Anything else you want to add?
No, things are churning along. I think this is the weird thing that's going to happen, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, as we progress, is just the length of this season seems odd. High schools in Maryland are finishing their seasons now. We have 2 more full weeks before we start our playoffs. So just the way the calendar's set up with the late Thanksgiving, I think a lot of people are going to be weary at the end of the season.
For sure.
So we're just managing the days off and the volume in training and just trying to be as careful as we can with the players, and they've been pretty responsive so far.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Welcome back to the Bobcast. We're sitting down with assistant coach of the volleyball team, Nicole Higgins, filling in for head coach Becky Fletcher of the volleyball team. Coach, a big 3-1 victory over Fairmont last week. What were some of your takeaways from that game?
Though they can play and have fun. I think that this group has proven that if they have fun, they can be successful. So the huge takeaway is that we can compete with the teams that are in our upper division or in the northern division. We just have to continue to show up that way. And if we show up and maintain that consistency, we're going to surprise some people.
And heading into that game, 4 tough losses, most recently to 2 of the teams predicted to finish first and second in the MEC, West Liberty and Wheeling. And West Liberty did lose to Fairmont, I believe. So with that in mind, how do you think that those games prepared you for the Fairmont game?
I think it gave us definitely a different level of competition. They definitely are fast. They know how to put the ball away, and with us having 15 freshmen and sophomores, it's a learning curve, and we need the time to take that learning curve and grow with it. So the previous matches, I think, prepared us not only mentally but physically in realizing what we really needed to do to be successful. And I think that when we stepped on the court against Fairmont, it took us a little while to warm up and realize that we knew what we were doing. But once we got into a rhythm, it was clear as day that we were ready to go.
Negative hitting percentage in those first 4 conference games, and then against Fairmont, you guys exploded. Had that 224 hitting percentage, hitting around 270 in the latter 3 sets. What was the difference?
Consistency, doing their homework. We watch film on a weekly basis, and a lot of that is because they need to see the other teams that we're playing against, and when they do their homework and they practice and execute the way we strategize on a weekly basis, then it comes through. But if we don't execute the way we've been practicing and playing, then it's not going to go in our favor. So we have to execute what we work on a weekly basis.
And when Becky's been on, we talk week in and week out about the first years and how they contribute so much to the 2019 team. What's kind of your take on the first years and what they've added to the team?
I think the first year athletes are a lot of positivity. I think off the court they make more of an impact than I think everybody realizes, and that transitions to on the court. So our core group of freshmen are really, really dedicated to the school, dedicated to the program, dedicated to the coaching staff, and whatever they need to do to make an impact long term, they're in. So I think that the first year are making a name for themselves, but it's only the beginning. We have 4 years with these athletes, and they're going to make an even bigger impact.
What are some of those examples of those off the court presence that the first years have brought?
I think the main one is that they're integrating with other teams really quickly. So we have, women's basketball coming to support us, whether they're working the matches or not. Their roommates are from all different sports, and they're going to other teams' games. They're talking to their professors on a regular basis about coming. We get pictures all the time of them putting stuff up on their whiteboards, a volleyball match, come see us. And I think the buzz around campus about the volleyball team is something huge. It's positive. Our record, has been great and it's been something positive, but the presence on campus for them, I think is even more important.
Any individuals that have stood out, whether it be first years or even some of the upperclassmen?
I think Ed is definitely our setter. She's a unique individual. She is from San Diego, so she's here without a lot of support family-wise, and she's a long ways of home, but you could never tell. So a level of consistency from her both on and off the court. She's making an impact, making friends off the court. And I think that another person off the court for sure is Rachel Sneed. She kind of is the silent one, but she leads with academics. She's the person that a lot of our athletes go to for study tips and off the court questions about like, hey, how'd you handle this situation? She may not be like a captain per se, but she, I think, is a really true leader off the court.
And you guys are in the midst of a 10-day break in between games. Head coach Becky Fletcher has said that it's a positive thing for the team.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Um, I think a break is always needed, especially halfway through season. This year has definitely been a little bit different where we're not compacted and we haven't had all of these matches in, a short period of time. We've had 4 extra weeks with the same amount of matches. So the break allows not only our bodies to get some rest, but mentally kind of take a deep breath, take some things back, and focus on academics and getting caught up with that because the second half of the season is going to be even tougher than the first half. Our first weekend back, we're gone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's not like we're just jumping back into a 2-match weekend. We have 3 matches ahead of us. So a break going into a long weekend is really nice.
So it sounds as if the team is reacting very, very well to the transition from D3 to D2.
Absolutely. I think there are some changes. I think the structure change is a little bit different, especially to our returners. But I think overall, they're grasping everything with stride. They love the ability to know kind of their hours and what those look like. And the travel schedule is a little bit easier on our bodies. And the playing schedule is easier on our bodies. It's a true definition of being a student and an athlete.
For sure. It certainly helps when you're going just 2 hours on most trips instead of 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
And going from Virginia and New Jersey, just to name a couple of places, and instead you're going down to West Virginia, which could be as close as an hour away.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going into some of the Southern Division schools coming up here, and we're looking at our schedules, and we're like, oh, we don't have to leave that that early anymore. We can leave a little bit later, so it gives them more time to be in classes. And I think in the past we've had a lot of student athletes, miss class because of competition. And yes, it's acceptable in some cases, but we really want them to have a true balance, and this Division II transition has given them that.
And some of those Southern teams you'll be seeing this weekend, a trip to the Charleston area, taking on Charleston on Friday, West Virginia State on Saturday in a pair of tough MEC games. What have you guys seen from both of those squads?
I mean, obviously we got to go in with the right mindset, like we did with Fairmont, and go in with our strategy and our plan of attack. We watch film every week, and our girls watch a lot of film on their own. So when they come in, they know what we need to do, and we have our checklist of items, and that's the game plan. We're going in ready to attack and ready to be successful.
Do you think it could be tough given the 10-day layoff from that big win against Fairmont, kind of building off of that 10 days removed from that game?
Coach Fletcher and I also talked to the team about, yeah, we celebrated our Fairmont win, absolutely, but it's time to regroup and refocus. So we can celebrate for one day, that's good, but there's a job at hand, and the job is to compete. So we have been back in the gym with practice every day and using whatever we can and whatever tools we have to give the team the tools to be successful.
Anything else you want to add?
Go Bobcats.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. Welcome back to the Bobcast, episode 7 of the 2019-2020 season. We're here with tennis head coach Jeff Splinter. And, Coach, big win for your team against California the other day. What was working?
Yeah, I think we had it all working. It's really exciting to get our first Division II win, first win this season. So we're really excited about that. We had a slight scare with the light situation with the construction going on near the tennis courts, but we were able to get that all fixed up and able to get the full match in. And it was just it was a great day. We came out and we played singles first instead of doubles and really set the tone early. Had one of our girls get behind a set and then come back and win in the third set tiebreaker, so which was the clinching win for us. But just came out and really wanted to play our brand of tennis.
And speaking of singles, Madison Toothman and Aria Zuzunaga they started off the match strongly, got those first 2 wins for you guys. How important was that to set the tone?
Oh, it was great. We depend on our depth, and those girls down at 5 and 6 singles really do a great job for us. Ariana's been one of the most consistent performers this entire season with her competitiveness level. Every match she's gotten at least 2 or 3 games and really taking her opponent and forcing her to hit shots that are a little bit uncomfortable. So she does a great job just getting the ball back, making them hit, making them play, and same thing with Maddie. She a first-year student who really has an identity in what she wants to do in points, and those two are really able to dictate points down in the bottom of the lineup, and it's set up by the rest of our depth. So really impressed 1 through 6.
Who else stood out to you in the 5-2 win over Cal U?
Yeah, we had a great showing from Sarah. She had a really nice first set, and then her opponent kind of took fire there the second set. But it's exactly what we've been talking about with trying to be consistent and make our opponent beat us. And she did a great job. And unfortunately, the girl just had too much that day. At 3 singles with Shay, really impressed. She lost the first set in a close tiebreaker. Came back second set and dominated with a 6-1 or 6-2 set win. And then third set tiebreaker, she just didn't. She was up 8-2, 8-3 in the tiebreaker. The girl came back, fought really hard to a 9-8, and then she ended up winning, I think, 11-9. But that's why we preach getting started early. You don't have to put yourself in those situations because a tiebreaker or anything can happen. And luckily, we came out the right side of that.
Now, the women's team added a couple of matches, including the Cal U game this week. Bethany and Clarion on the schedule. The fall season was supposed to end after the Waynesburg match, but that match got canceled. And are we going to see kind of the same deal with the men? As far as I know, there's no matches scheduled for the men's team. So will we see a similar outcome for the men's?
No, the men are done this semester. And then the women will have these 2 matches this next weekend, and then we have 1 more week of practice before our fall 60-day window kind of comes to a close here. But just really looking forward to really focusing on match play with the women. Bethany and Clarion, I think, are two matches that we can be competitive with, and we want to keep proving ourselves and prove that we can fight with these teams. And so we'll take these with the most intention that we can to go out and win these matches. And the men are just focused on practice. We're kind of going into match play a little bit more into practice and focusing on how to build ourselves, build our points, and break down our opponents a little bit better. So it's been a really nice focused practice since they finished this past week.
How do you think the team has progressed from day one to now?
Yeah, we've done a really great job. Been super impressed. Last year we didn't have the most buy-in in terms of making sure everyone was doing what they're supposed to, and we have 2 very dedicated captains, and Tim Goldring and Allison Paul, who keep themselves accountable and then keep the rest of the team accountable. So I've just been really impressed with the work ethic and the drive, and we're not getting too bogged down in homework or things like that. We're taking care of schoolwork first, and then we're able to focus on tennis and tennis practice.
And with these final 2 matches coming up this weekend with Bethany and Clarion, what are you looking for out of your squad heading into the final official week of the fall sports season?
Yeah, I'm looking to compete. We talked about winning the close sets. So if it gets to 4-4 in the set, really focusing on those points and focusing on a point-by-point basis, and making sure that we can win those important, crucial points. So just kind of staying on track. And if we get out to a slow start, if we get out to a really fast start, keeping that fast start in the second set and refocusing. And then if we lose the first set, it's clean slate, and then try and fight for that next set.
Anything else you want to add, Coach?
No, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We're back on the Bobcast, sitting down with field hockey head coach Caitlin Thompson. And, Coach, the rematch against Slippery Rock, much better outing compared to the first time around. 8-0 last month, and on Tuesday only losing 3-0. What was the difference?
I think, we did a much better job of moving the ball around pressure. We were connecting on our passes really well going up the field. That was something that we hadn't done very well the first time around. We also did a great job of playing with energy and really going out and playing with passion. And then just a couple things to fix were our us and our energy. I mean, I'm sorry. Just a couple things that we needed to fix are that we needed to play a little bit better defensively all around and just get hungrier in the cage.
Now, defensively, Sierra Smizer was outstanding against Slippery Rock. She faced numerous shots, but was able to turn away. I believe it was 14 off the top of my head. How can the defense kind of help back her up in the cage?
Just stepping the ball quicker. So we've been focused on trying to force them wide and low to make some take some bad angle shots, but we've got to be a little more proactive in taking the ball away so that Smizer doesn't even see a shot. So like I said, doing a little better job with forcing a bad angle shot so that Smizer has the ability to make the easier save, but just being proactive in that step and making sure, she doesn't see as many shots, making sure we're, throwing a block tackle so that that girl doesn't even have the opportunity to take the shot.
And even though Smizer has had to face a lot of shots this season, you got to be happy with her performance in the cage. And also, even whenever she's not in the cage, you have Madison Mantelanson who's come in reserve in a couple of games and provided some pretty good performances as well.
Yeah, our goalkeeper situation is a great one right now. Smizer is a fantastic leader from the back. She's able to make some of the saves that we need her to make, and I think Madison, is right on our heels and will be. It was a great addition for us this past off season. She's just learning more and more every single day. Just have to get her confidence level up a little bit, but once that rises up, she's going to be a fantastic goalkeeper for us moving into the future.
And it's been tough sledding for the team thus far. How are the kids reacting to the season despite the record to this point?
I think our girls have done a really good job of trying to find other victories in our play. So, making sure that we are playing together as a team, we're staying together as a team, making sure that we're growing more and more each and every single day. I think just making sure that we find victories within ourselves and not just within the game, but obviously still hungry for a victory in the game.
And speaking of hungry for a victory, this week, 3 games against SAC opponents, those being against Queens tomorrow, and then a road trip to South Carolina taking on Limestone and Converse. Converse on that schedule should jump out as a game that's winnable, considering that Converse 1-11 on the season. But what are you going to be looking for going into tomorrow's game against Queens and also the road trip to the Carolinas?
Again, just playing as hard as we know we can play, making sure that we are still using those connecting passes, making sure that we're seeing a little bit of growth on our defensive end, and making sure that we just get more and more hungry inside the circle. I haven't really seen as much fire inside our attacking circle as I would like to see, and so just making sure that we're really bringing it when we're in the circle. We're either getting a corner or we're getting a goal every single time we get into our attacking circle. So just making sure we see that growth on that end specifically.
You mentioned the growth, especially on the defensive side. Who stood out to you in that category?
I think Emily Hughes played a fantastic game against Slippery Rock the other day. She's making hard steps to ball. She's one of the ones that's looking to intercept as much as she can, making sure she's throwing her block tackles whenever she can so that her attacker doesn't get an opportunity to shoot. She's been playing some really great defense, and I've really enjoyed watching her growth as a field hockey player.
Anything else you want to add?
Just excited to play 3 games this week and hopefully come out victorious in one or more.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much. We're back on the Bobcast, sitting down with cross country head coach Shane Brookshire. Shane, thanks for taking time out of your day to speak, given that track and field season is just about to get underway and we're waiting down on the cross country season. We'll stick with cross country for now. Gettysburg coming up this week. It's the last meet before MECs. What's the game plan?
Really, it's just to work on some race strategy. Try to pack up with our 4 through 7 runners. Like that's where kind of our biggest gap is at. Like I know we can do well at MECs. Like if we have a strong pack from 4 through 7, and so I want them to actually learn how to race together. Like rely on each other throughout the race. Like pull each other along, help each other out. Uh, Close that gap between them, like get our 7 closer to our 4, like, and that will minimize the amount of runners in between. Like we really haven't done that this year yet, and so I'm not worried about times. I would actually rather see some slightly slower times this weekend, like so that we don't tire ourselves out before MECs. But like if they can just learn to race together and help each other out in the race, like that would be a great day for us.
Now, we've gone every week basically talking about Braxton Clark and what he's added to this program. He's led the team in every race, has been phenomenal for your cross country squad. How hard do you plan on him going this week?
I know this course is fast, and so I mean they've hosted region championships in the past, like for the D3 level, and like his fitness level is much higher than what it was in past years. Like so, he could actually probably go a little bit faster, and the fact that he's put in the mileage over summer, like will just ensure that he's not running too fast. Like that if he does go fast, like he'll be able to recover well from it. And that, like I said, like that just comes from the mileage, and so I think like in the last couple races, he still hasn't come anywhere near his peak yet. Like that, get him into the right race, and if he puts out just a little bit more effort during the race, like I've kind of got a good game plan from the last 2 races as to like where he breaks down at, what miles he needs to focus on the most, and so if he can execute his own race plan with it, then I mean I think he can definitely go under 26 this weekend. It'll be the right course for it, like slightly rolling hills, and which is in my experience at my last school, with Joplin course was the same way, and that's where we usually ran our fastest times at. So if he wants to go under 26, like I mean this would be the race to do it. I'm not 100% sure on how the conference course is, so I mean if he does have that opportunity, I'd like for him to take it.
Now, with you, and you also I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but with the 4 through 7s, it's kind of important for them too to also be on with the same level as Braxton has, and just to improve the team score. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, like if they put in the mileage, like put in the work over summer, like do the summer training, like summer training makes fall champions, and if they see like what Braxton has done over the summer, and like by upping his mileage and being consistent, then that should motivate the others to do the same thing. That if we want to compete at a higher level, then we need to put the work in over summer, and having somebody on the team that has done that, and like along with Jake Rickards as well, like he put in the mileage over summer too, and like it's starting to show for him dropping PRs, and so the more they realize that, like, and start to buy into it, then the better our pack is going to be, to where instead of having athletes running 28s and 29s, we're going to be having athletes running 26s and 27s, and hopefully well under 26 too.
Kind of an off-the-wall question, but with the weather getting colder, we've had days where it's been 80 and 90 degrees. Now we're consistently in the 50s and 60s. Do you think that kind of has an impact in the stamina of the racers, given that it's colder now?
Yeah, it's a positive impact for us. Like at least for most of the guys, like aside from Braxton and Jake, like which they work out in the mornings together on Monday, Wednesday mornings. Like the other guys, like they've been running in the warmest time of the day, and so when you go from running in the warmest time of the day to racing in cooler temperatures, your body doesn't have to work as hard. Like when you're hydrated like properly, like then your body utilizes it more efficiently. You're it's not overworking, it's not exhausting on the body, not taxing on the body. So kind of coming down from warmer temperatures to cooler temperatures like benefits us because we like to train in that warmer climate just so that it feels so much nicer when it is like 50s and 60s at race time.
And now that you've seen a lot of the teams in the Mountain East Conference a week ahead of the championships, how do you think you match up or get a gauge with the competition?
Right now, I believe we're still sitting in fifth place. Like I haven't broken down the results from this past weekend. I know Charleston ran well. Concord, or not Concord, but Davis and Elkins ran extremely well this weekend. Just looking at some of the results online, but like those two teams are going to be at the top of the conference. Like Charleston's was ranked number 9 in the country, and the other schools behind them, West Liberty and Concord, I think they're roughly about 40 points ahead of us at this time. And so behind us, I'm not exactly too sure. I believe it's Fairmont and maybe West Virginia Wesleyan. But I kind of think we're in no man's land where like we would have to run out of our minds in order to break into the top 4. Now anything's possible. Rankings mean nothing. But like as long as we don't mess up at conference, as long as we run our race and like work on staying within ourselves and not getting freaked out by the competition, then we should finish 5th. Like if we mess up, like if somebody has a bad day, then we could possibly be 6th.
Anything else you want to add?
I think it's going to be a good race this weekend. I'm excited to see how the ladies do as well. Like they both Natalie and Isabel ran huge PRs at Salisbury, and so this is another fast course for them, and I think they can replicate that. And so I said it's been a good year so far. Like two weeks left in the season. Time to see how all the training pays off.
Coach, busy time for you with track and field on the horizon. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.